Break family, how's every single one of you? Welcome to another episode of our show, and we're going to be talking about Halloween Havoc, a tradition now from NXT. And Paul, it feels that like they're trying to do better. I want your thoughts on this because it was one of like the second pay-per-view under Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and we saw shades of what it used to be NXT, and a great triple threat match. The women's match I didn't like just because of the concept, but let's hear it from you.
Yeah, you know what I mean. What you brought up a good point, which hopefully, first off, I just want to say, hope you're doing good, and I hope everybody watching, everybody's doing fantastic. Here's Saturday, enjoying your evening, and Halloween Havoc. I mean, this show, it really felt like a Triple H NXT takeover in the first match. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I was a fan of it. There was one or two, depending how you look at it, big spots in the match that really didn't like. Thankfully, they were right next to each other, so they were over and done with. But, that match felt good. The triple threat felt good. Even the women's match itself was all right. It was just everything in the middle I just didn't care about. So this show, for me, in a sentence, it was a mixed bag. It was some good, some bad. But, I mean, I really can't call it if it was a fail or not. I mean, I would say if it was pass or fail, I would say maybe fail, just because I think there was more matches I didn't like than I liked on this show.
Yeah, like you said, like I said, they're still getting into that groove of things again. They're still trying to be the same NXT. Like we had like this start of the match, or like the presentation. Also, Paul, like Booker T on commentary. Does it make a big difference, or like does it help, or does it actually is bad for them?
Some things I laugh at, and then there's other things that he's saying, and I feel like he's reading from like a cue card because he has no emotion to what he's saying. He'll be like, "Oh man, they're really getting beat up in there," and it's like, really, that's the emotion you have? You're not going to get fired up or like scream or anything. I mean, Vic Joseph is okay, but he can only do so much. And I mean, Booker T's not bad, but I mean, he's definitely not good.
It's not the greatest. So like let's start with, like you said, like the first match that was actually one of the greatest things that this show had. Tradition from NXT, like the ladder match for the North American Championship. Remember, that's how the title was inaugurated. And we got a guy from NXT UK that like changed his name, but like, was one of our guys, one of the former tag team champions, and also like Oro Mensah.
Yeah,
and Carmelo Hayes, Wesley, like also trying to reinvent himself for like the days of MSK, Von Wagner, and Nathan Frazier, the only guy that actually kept the name from other days. But like an absolutely great match. The ladder always sells out, and also guys that like can go do the spots, a lot of intensity, but most likely athleticism in one of these ones, Paul.
Yeah, and Oro Mensah, to just comment on that, I've been hearing the results of NXT for a while, but I've been watching this show.
I didn't even know it was him either.
Yeah, I didn't know it was him until I saw this, and I'm like, what? But I mean, hey, it's good to see Oliver Carter,
yes.
to see him here, so that was cool. I mean, the match I liked. I thought this was going to be Carmelo Hayes. I thought it was going to be his match to retain. Von Wagner, man, they really built him like a monster. People were having to team up to take him down. The spot that I didn't like was everybody was kind of all on the outside, and then Oro Mensah went up, and he was supposed to, to fall off the ladder because Trick Williams came and lifted up the ladder. He was supposed to fall off the ladder. Always helping out
Carmelo, yes.
And he kind of botched that spot, and he barely hit the guys, and it looked like shit. And then the managers came in, Robert Stone and Trick Williams, and they were going at it. So neither of those spots were needed. But otherwise, I mean, this was a great match. Lots of, Oh, another thing too. I don't know if you noticed this. When Von Wagner was trying to pull out that big ladder, and he almost hit somebody in the face.
Yeah.
When he pulled it up and he pulled it back over the barricade, the person ducked, and everybody in the crowd was like, whoa, like they all were like, oh my God.
And that shows that they're not really, comfortable with this type of matches. They're not really savvy. They're not knowledgeable.
Some of the big spots, and then we'll move on here. Wesley, he got tossed into the announce desk. You thought he was taken out. Then you had the two NXT guys, Frazier and Mensah. They took out Von Wagner on the outside. Then they started climbing up to the top, and I thought, okay, this is where Hayes is going to steal it and win. And he almost did that, but then out of nowhere, Wesley came, pretty much out from the grave. You thought he was done for this whole match, and he won it. And I was really pulling for one of the two NXT UK guys or for Carmelo Hayes. I thought, like I said, his match should retain. I mean, Wesley, He's my favorite of the two. I shouldn't say favorite, but out of the two guys of MSK, he's the one who I like more. And I think if you really want to tell that story, man, this guy, they were on the rise. They were tag champs, Dusty Cup winners. His partner's gone. This guy doesn't know what his future is. If you're trying to tell that, the comeback story and this and that, I'm fine with it. It's something new. It's not a decision I saw coming. So I didn't see it coming either. But like
it's a good way to promote a new guy. Pretty much you have to, because like you said, this guy doesn't have a tag team anymore, or like a tag team partner. So
but overall, hey. I thought the match was good. Lots of spots too. Like I said, guys were beating the hell out of each other, and that's what you want in a ladder match. That's why
athleticism and hard spots. And I was looking for like kind of maybe Nathan Frazier, because even in NXT UK he never won a championship. Here would have been maybe better. Doesn't
he remind you? And I'm not saying anything besides maybe the look and some of the moves he does. Since they have him now wearing full pants, I'm like, is this their version of Hangman Adam Page?
Yeah, it looks a little bit, like the hair and everything.
Yeah,
but at least when
he does the moonsault off the top and everything.
He knows how to fall when he does it. But not making fun of Adam Hangman Page. You guys heard me like everything on the video of the AEW Dynamite review, but pretty good match. And again, congratulations to Wesley. Did you see there was a video of like hugging Shawn Michaels and he's bawling his eyes out, crying, thank you so much, I appreciate what you did for me. It's a good start for this pay-per-view. So now let's go to the next match, and this was like the casket match. This, like you said, I don't care for this, because again, they're trying to that's when the pay-per-view sings, because trying to emulate the Undertaker is really big shoes for like this type of guys.
Yeah, and this went way too long. Okay, they had the casket match, whatever. What's his name? He's the shit heel. He runs his mouth.
Grayson Waller. Yeah,
Grayson Waller, but he's kind of a pussy. And it's like, but he's still a decent wrestler, though. You can't underestimate him. He's one of those characters. But this is a rebranding for Apollo Crews. This is, hey, we're gonna try to get. We know this guy is so talented. He's been given shitty gimmicks on the main roster. Now Triple H is in charge of that now too. So no more shitty gimmicks for Wuha Nation. We're gonna use him legit now. So here he is, and the only problem with this is it went way too long. They broke the casket how early on, then they had to dim the lights, and then the Druids came out again with a new casket, and I'm like, is this for real?
That sucks,
I'm like, what the hell's going on?
That never even happened with the Undertaker.
Yeah, it was just it was just, this whole thing was a wreck, and it was so many times where, oh my God, he's about to close it, but he puts like his finger in there to block it. No, you're not going to close it.
Or the food,
Yeah, and then he gets out.
This is even worse.
Yeah, just way too long, way too much stuff. Eventually, a big slam, almost like an Uranagi or something, slams him in there. He climbs up, closes it. There it is. Way too long. Good thing Apollo Crews won, but this is where it started to go downhill. And I don't know if it was after this match or before this. And then, I don't know if you have any pictures for it. Hopefully not, so we don't have to talk about it. But that long, drawn-out segment where Toxic Attraction went to that haunted house.
I only have one. I only have one. So we won't have to go in depth.
I think that followed this match, or it was before this.
Yeah, that's what it follows. Yeah, because they went to Alba Fyre was playing
way too long. What this should have been on NXT on Tuesday. There was no reason for this. This was way too long. I'm sitting there going, yeah, okay. Even if you were, hyped up like you said. Nothing. You're
that
watching
kills
this
the match for me because again, you put it in a story, and the title is on the line. This is supposed to be serious. These girls, both of them can tell you a good story in the ring, and then there's we're gonna.
And I'm sorry,
with
the fact that
all Halloween,
you make it. We just talked about Triple H not giving people bad gimmicks. Well, Alba Fyre still stuck with a bad one. Kaylee Ray.
Yes.
The thing that sucks is you see all this, and I'm watching it, and I go, at the end of the night, who's going to be holding the title up in the air? Mandy Rose. So
exactly. No, you're right. So like that, so let's talk about this one also very quick, because it was the ambulance match. Julius Creed going against Damon Kemp. We saw Damon in NXT UK. These two, these guys at least are trying to develop a gimmick, develop a something storyline wise. But again, the match was decent. In the end, Diamond Mine gets the win, so that was at least cool, because Diamond Mine is supposed to be a group that is consolidated on NXT. So Paul, you said, this was part of
this is another one.
That you didn't really care for.
There is I want to ask you a question. What is the difference between this match and the casket match? What's the difference?
To me, again, no interest in any of these guys.
But no, there's no difference in you have to put somebody in it and close the door, whether it's an ambulance or a casket. So they booked the same gimmick match on the show twice.
Yes.
And was the Cora Jade in that match in between this one?
No, I think it was in between, but we're going to talk about this one
first.
but like you said,
I'm just trying
over Diamond
for the point of that is just, you had these matches so close together and it's the same gimmick and way too long. I mean, I'm glad Diamond Mine won. And like you said,
or Julius Creed in this case, yes.
If you're really invested in this, okay, he did turn on them. They got the revenge. I mean, if you look at it on paper, it should be a good story, but they did nothing to make these guys care about them. They have no charisma. In the tag matches, watching them wrestle, they have charisma, but on the mic, zero charisma.
They're not good on their own either yet.
And the one thing, maybe in 10 years from now, we'll look back on this match and we'll be like, man, these guys are WrestleMania main eventers now, and this is their humble beginnings. But looking at it right now here in the present, this was just a match that went way too long to kill time on a show that I didn't care about.
Absolutely. For the record, Julius Creed gets the win, Diamond Mine, Ivy Nile, a lot of reports that like they're really high on her and what she can do next in the main roster. Creed brothers, they were also at some point tag team champions, so we'll see what they do. But again, Julius Creed is trying to break off.
Like I said, to be honest, I think all three of them have a lot of potential to be good. It's just right now, the promo work and all that, it's not there. And, they need to build that. That's why I'm glad that they're all still in NXT.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, Paul, let's talk about the next one. And this is the Weapons Wild match. This one was okay at most. The girls try the spots. Some of them came out okay. Some others didn't. The big back body drop that it didn't look that good. But I mean, both of them sold it. But in this one, Roxanne gets the win. So this is good. And Cora Jade still heel. If she loses, he's not gonna lose any heel heat, so that's fine. But Roxanne is getting up in the ladder of the NXT brand, so I liked it. And Go Red tables for the win, really cool stuff.
The only issue I have with it is certain of the weapons and certain of the things they're not gonna lay into each other, whether they don't feel comfortable. I don't want to hurt them. There was a couple times where Roxanne was swinging like a big rope or a bat or something, and it looked like she was pulling up like she was going to hit her grandma.
Yeah.
And it's, this stuff doesn't look believable. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, storyline, they're selling it that's her former best friend and she didn't want to beat her up and this and that. Okay, I don't give a shit if it's your best friend, if it's your mother, who it is. You can only get hit so many times, with a chair or a baseball bat before you get pissed off and start swinging back.
Oh yeah.
So that to me, is a bullshit story. Like you said, they were fighting up top. She gets in her face. She botches her own line. She's like, I did so much to you. I did so much for you. Botch your own. You have one line to say when you're on the mic and you can't even remember it. So but Roxanne shows her, like you said, they did almost like a Russian leg sweep, but they both fell backwards off the top, back in the ring. Big slam on all the chairs. Roxanne wins. I mean, this was good, and this was the one thing I liked was cool about this. There was a couple of times where Booker T would be like, "No, I know Roxanne. She's not like this." And if you don't know, he trained her. She went to his school.
You see at least the history behind it.
So they don't kayfabe themselves. They don't go, "Oh yeah, Booker T. Oh, Roxanne. She looks like she's a promising young wrestler." No, he's like, "Yeah, I trained her."
So that's like you said. I mean, the one thing is something that you always mention, and I will say throughout these matches, they will do a big move. Like Roxanne did a suicide dive, and they don't sell it. Joseph and Booker are talking about, yeah, how was your day going? Good. It's fine. So can you get me into the match? I mean, if the match
and the one thing I'll say now,
it.
I don't know too much about the ambulance and the casket match because those I completely zoned out. But all the other matches got holy shit chants. The crowd was into it. Whether the holy shit chant was warranted or whether they were doing it just because they're a bunch of marks. Either way, the crowd was into it. So that's what made these matches, to me, if this was a 4-match card, If you would have did the 3 championship matches and then this grudge match, I would have been completely fine with it. Yes. And if you could have did the Apollo Crews and Grayson Waller match in 8 minutes, and I would have been fine with the whole show.
That would have been absolutely fine. Like you said, it would have been maybe like 2 hours, maybe 2.5, right?
And cut out. I mean, to me, because we're about to talk about the main event, which we both liked. But before we get there, what was the worst defender? Was it the going to the haunted house, or was it one of these matches? If you had to cut, if you could only cut one thing.
No, Waller and Apollo Crews. No, but on the worst offender, Demp and Julius Creed. I don't care for these 2 guys. They're not even halfway. If you would have given me different guys,
this is what I would have did. That should have been you could have booked that.
That would have been kickoff,
and hyped it up. That could be the main event for Tuesday.
Yeah, and the main event of this next Tuesday is going to be Tag Team Championship Tuesday. It's going to be called. The tag team on both on the men's and the women's are going to be on the line. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Alba Fyre, like you said, Kaylee Ray. Unfortunately, she has a terrible gimmick. And also like this whole thing that like she was dragging her out to the ring. They have to go in the car, drive her, follow her. This kills it for me because again, this is supposed to be a good story. This is supposed to be a championship that is like she's going to be 1 year as a champion in Mandy Rose. So I don't know. But that killed it for me. I don't like that. But the match itself was really good. And Mandy showing a lot of improvement. And Kaylee Ray is always being known for putting good matches.
Yeah, I mean, this was the only thing I have to say about this. I mean, I have no problems with the match. Really big fan of Kaylee Ray, Mandy Rose. Every time, I have no problem looking at Mandy Rose. But every time in the ring, I think she gets better and better. And she has the great charisma. Now, she's one when you want to talk about somebody who's good on the mic. She has great charisma and that attitude as a heel champion. But the only thing that sucks is every time in a match, she's about to lose. Here comes Toxic Attraction, distraction, this, that. She boomed the big knee, 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty much all she wrote. And the thing that sucks is, like I said, it's just predictable. You just know Mandy Rose is going to win, especially in a match and a gimmick like this. Maybe if this was somebody, who they really built up or, like they said, Shotzi, she's back in NXT now. They made that announcement. So it's like, okay, maybe because there's nothing to do for her on the main roster, maybe she's going to be like a Mandy Rose. Nothing really for you up there, but we have big plans for you down here. She could be maybe one, but at this time, Alba Fyre, nobody believed it. So that's what kind of maybe made the match a little less exciting for me. And also seeing that awful, like I said, I can't get over how bad, at least for me, was. That whole
the whole story killed it. Yeah. I didn't care about it. It affected that match, and that like the match itself. And like you said, I was thinking actually Alba Fyre, Kaylee Rose going to dethrone. This was the time because otherwise, who else? Who else is going to be the girl? But like unfortunately, like you said, the same thing that, for example, we see in Roman Reigns. I will say it's the same exact thing. The Usos come out, all help him out. Solo Sikoa comes out. There's always somebody that comes out. Big knee, spear, or like guillotine. She retains. It's going to be 1 year as a champion though, but at least a big transformation. And without Mandy, NXT will suffer big time. A lot of people love Toxic Attraction, so what are you going to do if she ever goes to the main roster? So that's a good point to mention right there. But Paul, the main event, this was like what we really wanted to see. The triple threat for the NXT Championship, and also the addition in the Go Home show of Austin Theory, kind of teasing that he was going to like cash in. But aside of that, these 3 guys gave us a great match. The title maybe wasn't, I was thinking if Ilja or JD would win, maybe Austin Theory would have cashed in, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and to be honest, I totally forgot about Austin Theory cashing in, because I was thinking, okay, that, when the match was over, not to jump to the end, to jump back to the beginning, but I was like, I'm looking, I see the little thing, the trademark pop up in the corner, and I'm like, okay. And then when it starts fading to black and then the screen goes to black, I'm like, okay, nothing's going on here. We're good. But, so no Fiend or, Austin Theory or anybody. But I mean, the match, I liked it. Ilja and Bron Breakker, obviously they have that intensity, Ilja, the great promo before that hyping you up. And you have Devlin on the outside just watching the 2 guys beat each other up. He'll
That's
go
what
in.
a heel does.
He'll roll in, hit a move, and then one of them gets up. He'll roll out, let the other 2 guys fight. I mean, so it was great early, good stuff on in the beginning. A couple times where a guy takes a big move and then rolls out of there and you don't see him for 5 minutes and it turns into a singles match. That I don't like. I wish it was more, hey, let's do a lot of stuff where we can incorporate all three guys at once, where there's not one guy just taking a nap on the outside. But I mean, this was really good. I thought maybe you would do something where, this could have been one where Ilja steals it. And I really thought you were going to do that. I mean, it did look kind of close where he did hit the Torpedo Moscow on the breaker. You thought he was going to win. Then McDonagh, the 1, 2. Oh my God, I called him McDonagh. Excuse me. Jordan Devlin, sorry. And then, he goes for the pin and then the ref grabs the hand. And it's like, I mean, and again, a triple threat, the no DQ. It's so stupid how they do no DQ just so they can, because it's like, we can't think of a creative way to get out of the pin, so we got to screw with the ref and this and that. But regardless, this was a good match, and I don't hate that Bron Breakker won. The only thing is, now what do you do? Because he pinned Ilja, that's the only real issue I have with this. Is, I understand, JD or McDonagh, whatever, was supposed to have the match. And then Ilja kind of came in, made a triple threat. And then that kind of pissed off Devlin. So maybe he was like, no, that now you do that singles match again. But to me, that's like, that would be like, okay, you have a triple threat with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. And then when that's over, you have a singles match with Jannetty. Why wouldn't you have the singles match with Shawn Michaels? Like, the better wrestler here is Ilja. So you should move on to that. But he just pinned him in this triple threat. So that I didn't like. I mean, I know Ilja was setting up again, and then Breakker speared him, so he kind of countered his finisher with his own. But still, I didn't like that because I thought maybe you turned Ilja heel. Maybe because he's a baby face.
There was a big also announcement on like a video package. Dominic Dijakovic is going to come back.
Yes, because I thank you for bringing that up, because they had like a Fyre and you saw somebody throw a mask in there. But okay. He was such an awesome wrestler. When him and Keith Lee were having those matches, he's one of my favorites. He was one of my top guys on NXT for a long time. One of my favorites. He's coming back as a babyface. There's no way he's coming back as a heel.
It's true.
So I mean, he can still challenge Bron Breakker. That's fine. But I mean, one thing right now is both your champions are babyface, and to me, you don't have any good heels. The Schism are complete jokes. Grizzled Young Veterans are now turned into losers.
Gacy, all of that is just trash.
Gacy's a joke. You have no good heels. But that's the thing with NXT. But overall, Bron Breakker, he's still your champ. And like I said, man, this was a shit sandwich. It was, it was two good pieces of bread. The top of the show and the end of the show was good. It's just everything in the middle
was very questionable. Absolutely agree with you. And, at least, or maybe Austin Theory maybe cashes in on Tuesday. He can always do that. Maybe he TTs it on last Tuesday. He does it this Tuesday, and then you have a heel champion, and then Bron Breakker, or maybe Dragunov. No, you have that, and maybe JD will be in the middle, in between of all of that. Well, the time will be just looking in to see what's going to happen. But this is good stuff. Like you said, the pay-per-view wasn't that great, but again, NXT is not at the level that it used to be. So if you aren't subscribed, why aren't you subscribed yet? What are you waiting for? Follow this guy. He follows the show. He's telling you, please do it. And Paul, we close just by saying, a pay-per-view that could have been a lot better, but at least, hey, a show for like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I think NXT's moving in the right direction. A couple good things here and there. Like we said about the main roster, Triple H ain't going to flip things on a dime immediately. It's going to be slow. But we saw Shinsuke Nakamura the other night. Maybe that was a one-time thing.
A lot of good returns.
Maybe that'll be something we see, more frequently. But if Shotzi Blackheart's going to be there more, if Austin Theory does indeed cash in and he's on the show more, and Nakamura, if you start adding some of these names, you're really going to make NXT a show that I think a lot of people are going to watch, especially considering when they went head-to-head with AEW. They lost by less than 100,000, I believe. So
yes, So yeah,
it was very close. But guys, that's where we're gonna end it. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you thumbs up, comment, let us know what you guys thought. go do it on the video Juan did a couple days ago on AEW. Hangman Adam Page, concussed, taken out. What did you guys think? You know, let the comments. Do you like the promo with MJF? Everything going on there. And, you know, follow us on all the social media. Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and, of course, right here on YouTube, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break.
And you and me have one more thing that is left to say, and that is...
The